What if the light you have followed your entire life was merely the shadow of a deeper darkness you refuse to name? What if every answer you clung to, like a child gripping a toy in the dark, was nothing more than a veil woven from fear, draped over the unbearable brilliance of what is? You speak of meaning as though it were a coin to be found at the bottom of a well, buried beneath centuries of dirt and doctrine. But what if meaning is not discovered? What if it must be forged like iron in the fire of your own becoming? You wander through days wrapped in borrowed truths, wearing beliefs stitched together by hands long turned to dust. You build temples out of comfort, kneel before idols of routine, and call this purpose. But deep within, where the echo of your solitude reverberates like a forgotten hymn, there stirs a question you dare not ask aloud, a question that gnaws silently beneath the surface of every smile, every distraction, every desperate chase for happiness. Is this all there is? Or have I mistaken the mask for the face beneath? The world feeds you illusions dressed as salvation, success, love, legacy, as if these could fill the abyss yawning between your ribs. But the abyss does not hunger for trinkets. It hungers for confrontation, for the moment when you stand alone, stripped of justifications, and gaze into the void not with terror, but with recognition. For what stares back is not your enemy. It is the unspoken twin of your soul, the reflection you have avoided for too long. And yet, somewhere in the labyrinth of your silence, a whisper coils around your spine, a suggestion that perhaps the meaning of life is not hidden in sacred texts or whispered by gurus on mountaintops, but lies bare, raw, and terrifyingly simple, waiting for you to bear its weight. Perhaps the truth you avoid is not a secret to be uncovered, but a mirror to be faced. And in that mirror, you will find not peace, but power. So ask yourself now, before the night swallows another day, will you continue to walk the path carved by others, eyes fixed on ground, or will you lift your gaze to the horizon where the sun of your own creation rises? The time for evasion is ending. The hour of reckoning has arrived, not with thunder and spectacle, but in the quiet tremor of a single thought. Who would I be if I ceased lying to myself about who I am? There is a moment, not marked by clocks or calendars, but carved in the marrow of your being, when you stand at the edge of yourself and realize that everything you have built, believed, loved, feared, and pursued has been shaped by a story you never questioned, a narrative whispered to you in the cradle, etched into your bones by generations before you who dared not look too closely at the abyss beneath their feet. You were told that life had meaning, that it could be found in love, in success, in service, in legacy, as though meaning were a destination waiting to be reached, a prize hidden behind effort and obedience. But what if this belief was the first lie? What if meaning is not something to be discovered, but something to be endured? You cling to purpose like a sailor clings to wreckage after a storm, believing that if only you hold tight enough, the sea will calm and the shore will appear. But the sea does not calm. It does not care for your grip, your desperation, your prayers. It simply is. And so is a question that gnaws at you in the silence between thoughts. What if I am nothing more than the echo of other men's voices? What if every dream you chase is not yours, but inherited, passed down like an heirloom too heavy to carry, yet too sacred to abandon? The world offers you gods made of gold and promises wrapped in velvet, but none of them answer the one question that burns beneath your skin. Who would I be if no one ever told me who I should be? You have lived inside illusions so long that they now feel like truth. The mirror you gaze into each morning reflects not your face, but the mask you wear to survive the gaze of others. You call it identity. You call it personality. You call it self. But it is merely the sediment of years spent burying the raw, untamed force that once roared within you, the primal scream of a soul unshackled from expectation. Somewhere deep inside, there stirs a memory, not of who you are, but of who you could be. A vision flickers in the darkness of your solitude, of a version of yourself that does not seek approval, that does not fear failure, that does not need to be seen in order to be real. And yet you turn away, because to embrace that vision is to burn down the house you built with trembling hands. The abyss calls to you not with malice, but with invitation. It does not ask you to understand it, only to stop running, to stop hiding behind distractions, behind achievements, behind relationships that serve only to fill the hollow space where your own voice should be. You mistake noise for meaning, movement for progress, comfort for truth. But comfort is the enemy of creation. Safety is the graveyard of becoming. And you were not born to live safely. You were born to become. Not to become what others want you to be. Not to become what you think you deserve, but to become what you are capable of enduring. For strength is not found in ease, but in the fire that forges it. Consider now the weight of your silence. How many nights have you lain awake, staring at the ceiling, haunted by a feeling you cannot name? How many times have you smiled while your heart screamed for something you could not define? That feeling is not madness. It is not weakness. It is the whisper of your true self, the part of you that refuses to be buried, that refuses to be tamed. It speaks in riddles, in dreams, in moments of inexplicable longing. It shows itself in the way you watch strangers on the street and wonder if they feel it too, if they, too, are walking through life pretending to know where they are going. But perhaps the greatest act of courage is not knowing. Perhaps the most honest path is not the one paved with certainty, but the one that begins with a simple admission. I do not know who I am, and yet somewhere within you there is a spark, a flame that refuses to die, even as you smother it with routine, with distraction, with 1,000 tiny deaths of compromise. It flickers in the moments when you dare to ask questions no one else dares to speak aloud. Questions like, what if my purpose is not to find meaning, but to create it? What if my value is not measured by what I achieve, but by how deeply I dare to exist? What if happiness is not the goal, but merely the shadow cast by a life fully lived? These are dangerous thoughts. They threaten the foundations upon which you have built your reality. They shake the pillars of your comfort, challenge the walls of your identity, and that is why you fear them. That is why you push them away. But the time is coming, whether you are ready or not, when the illusions will begin to crack, when the stories you have told yourself will no longer hold weight, when the masks you wear will slip, revealing the raw, trembling truth beneath. And in that moment, you will face a choice: to retreat into familiar shadows, or to step forward into the blinding light of your own becoming. The light will not be kind. It will not soothe. It will not promise peace. It will demand everything. It will strip you bare. It will ask you to bear the unbearable. But in return, it will give you something far greater than peace. It will give you power. Not the power to control others, but the power to shape your own destiny. Not the power to escape suffering, but the power to suffer well. Not the power to avoid pain, but the power to transform it into greatness. You were not born to follow paths. You were born to carve them, to walk where no one has walked before, to forge meaning not from words written in ancient books, but from the fire of your own will, to stare into the void and see not emptiness, but possibility, to recognize that the abyss is not your enemy. It is your mirror, and in that mirror you will find not answers, but the reflection of a soul willing to endure, to create, to transcend. The truth you have avoided all your life is not hidden in some distant land, nor whispered by gurus on mountaintops. It is here, now, in the trembling of your hands, in the ache of your heart, in the quiet rebellion of your spirit. It is a truth that says, you are not finished, you are not fixed, and now, in the silence that stretches like a bridge between what was spoken and what still cannot be named, you remain. There are no applause, no bright lights, only the faint pulse of something awakening within you, something ancient, something that was already there before the words began. You walk through the shadows of your own labyrinth, touched the cold walls of doubt, felt the weight of masks you did not even know you wore. And perhaps, for one brief and true moment, you glimpsed the face behind the facade. Life is not a ready-made answer, nor a map with neatly drawn lines. It is an abyss that breathes with you, a wind that blows without direction, a fire that consumes and illuminates at once. The meaning you sought outside yourself may have always been here, not as doctrine, but as choice, as act, as the courage to face the void and discover it is not empty, but space to create, to become, to rise. You stand before yourself as a sculptor before raw marble, and within that unshaped stone lies a form no one else could imagine. Only your hand can reveal it. Only your heart can bear the cost of revelation. For all that is great is born from solitude. All that is true emerges from the decision to stop running. And all that is eternal begins with a single step into the unknown. If there is one phrase that will echo in you, that will reverberate in the days to come, let it be this: you do not need a reason to live. You need to live to create one. And if this idea stirred something in you, if it moved the roots, if it awakened a sleeping memory, then share it not as a casual gesture, but as a silent oath that you will no longer lie to yourself. Like this moment as one who recognizes a mirror. Comment as one who wishes to continue the journey. Share it as one who knows other souls also wander in search of flame. And subscribe not out of habit but conviction, because you're decided, once and for all, to look directly at the sun and cease fearing your own light. The world waits for those who dare to be authors of themselves. Will you be one of them?